Peace and love. Hi, it's Catherine. I am going to talk about something that some people will have to deal with at some point in their life, and if you're lucky, you won't have to deal with it at all. I'm going to talk about addiction. There's a lot of different types of addicts, and there's a lot of different things to be addicted to. And addicts generally need help. We can easily think that we can help addicts on our own, but it's really difficult to do. I read somewhere that if you spend 8 weeks with someone full time, day and night, you could pretty much cure them of everything. I'm not sure if that's true because you really do need professional help, and especially if you're dealing with someone that's addicted to something more hardcore like heroin. I grew up with a friend, a very close friend, who was an alcoholic, and there's a difference between partying and you're young and you're not used to drinking and you throw up to the difference between having to have another drink, even if you're sick, not leaving until, last call, ordering like 2 bottles of wine and just being the last person to always leave and falling down. And any addiction is hard to break. The few people that I met that have addictions that gave it up and successfully gave it up were alcoholics, and both of them quit drinking after they got into a car accident. So after they got into a car accident, neither of them were charged, and they ran into a tree. Both of my friends ran into trees and fell asleep at the wheel and woke up like hours later, kind of not even remembering what happened. So I do have someone very, very close to me who I love very, very dearly, who is a heroin addict, and I tried I tried very hard to take care of her for about 3 months, and I was with her most of the day, and apparently when I wasn't with her, she was using heroin. So she was doing all sorts of crazy things, stealing bottles of alcohol, stealing money, stealing jewelry. She stole some really expensive jewelry to somebody that I know really well. So after that happened, it was kind of like I took a few steps back and I told her, I said, I think you have a problem. I think you're an addict, and I think that you're using heroin again, and I think you need help. And she denied it. So it's really hard to get someone to admit that they're addicted to something and they have a problem because they don't want to admit they have a problem. Um, and it's really easy to blame everyone else for everything. They really play a victim because they want to look at everyone else's problems, but they don't really want to look at their own because they think their life is too sad to look at themselves. So they just deny it, and then they go out and they get high again. So the only way to help an addict is to allow them to help themselves, and a lot of addicts can't help themselves. So what you have to do is, if they do steal from you, you do have to report it, because the safest place for an addict is in rehab, and if they're doing illegal things, unfortunately the safest place for them is in jail, because at least in jail, at least in Canada, it's more difficult to use. I'm not sure if there's drugs in jail in the States. There might be, I don't know. But at least it'll be harder, and you also don't want someone that you love overdosing. So if you think you're making the right steps by keeping them out of jail, you're also allowing them the potential of possibly overdosing, and then you have to think about what you're doing and what you could do to protect that person. And sometimes the only thing you could do to protect that person is to get the police involved to make sure that they are okay. Because if you really love someone, your main concern should be just to make sure that they're safe. That's all I want for this person, is to know that they're safe. And I would really prefer that they're not using, but that's not my choice. And an addict hardly has a choice. Their life is so shattered to themselves that they need to get high to feel okay, because their soul has already distanced themselves from their body. So their body just kind of like carries out actions, and they could have wonderful personalities, and they could be beautiful people, and they could be really, really great at not being honest. But the sad thing is that they're not being honest with you, and they're not being honest with themselves. And sometimes it's hard for these people to be around someone that really, really loves them, because they don't love themselves. So then as soon as they're not around you, they're like, oh, I don't love myself. They're self-destructive. So it's hard to teach someone to love themselves if they weren't brought up that way, or somewhere along the path in their life they stopped loving themselves. So one of the easiest things I try to teach people is to say, I love myself and God loves me. and to look at the mirror and say that, and to look at the mirror and hold their heart and say, I love myself and God loves me, and I love myself and God loves me. Because when you're holding your head, it's kind of like it has to absorb into your brain. And to just, if they keep telling you how horrible their life is, just remind them. Say, think of all the positive things in life. Think of like the happy times when you were a little girl. Think of like going to the, you know, going to the park and riding like a ferry go round, or riding like your bicycle, or flying a kite. Think of all the special things they used to do, and tell them to always have happy thoughts and try not to think bad about the people that love them, because a lot of times they use their lack of love for someone else to help sabotage themselves. So they'll keep repeating over and over again in their heads that one thing that maybe someone said to them at some point that's negative, because they don't love themselves enough. So they have to learn to love themselves, and they have to get professional help. It's really hard to help someone that's an addict. So this is Catherine wishing you peace and love, and to remember that God always loves you, and I'm wishing everyone happiness, and I'm praying for everyone out there that has a problem with substance abuse, and I hope one day they will heal, and they will be at one with their soul, and they will be at one with God and the love that's within themselves. Peace and love. Bye.